Hello, I'm Dr. Adam Brummett with the University of Iowa, and this is Chats with a Scientist, where we get to know the people behind the research. Today we are talking with Dr. Anna Stanhewicz from the Department of Health and Human Physiology. You'll get to hear how she found her way to conducting research and what she finds interesting about her research. So with that, I'll turn it over to her.
Sure, yeah. My name is Anna Stanhewicz. I'm an assistant professor in health and human physiology. My background, I grew up on the East Coast actually, so I am not a Midwesterner by heritage at all. I went to the University of Rhode Island for undergraduate. I have a bachelor's of science degree in kinesiology. Then I went to Penn State for graduate school. I did my master's and PhD there, and then did some postdoctoral training before I moved to Iowa in 2019.
Nice. So just before everything started to change in Iowa City, I guess.
Yes, I started in August of 2019, so we moved in July, and then in February, everything, the world as we knew it, changed completely. So yeah, I had about 6 months of fun times.
Well, obviously being from chemistry, I know a lot about the health and human physiology side of things, and that background of research that you do. So maybe what is your 30-second or ish elevator pitch of your research for something that doesn't in your field?
Sure, yeah. So I study cardiovascular function, and I'm particularly interested in microvascular function. So that's how well the smallest blood vessels in your body are functioning, and specifically what's making them work. So I study these microvessels in the skin as a model, so we can do these measurements in people, and it helps us understand what might be happening in deeper organs, the vascular beds of deeper organs. And we're really interested in populations who are at risk for cardiovascular disease. So we ask questions like, why are the vessels not working as well as they would in a population that is more likely to have a longer cardiovascular health span? And then more importantly, if we know why that is, what can we do to intervene to prevent the eventual development of cardiovascular disease?
Fascinating. I'm sure that is a very interesting field with lots of places for exploration. So at least in my own kind of journey, I never imagined I would ever do research at any point in time, and let alone going on to kind of run your own research group. So how did you fall into that path? How did you decide you wanted to? When did you decide you want to?
Yeah, so I think I'm still deciding every day that that's something I want to do, right? But that's part of science. So I also never had ambitions of going on to complete a doctoral degree and becoming a university professor. When I started undergraduate, I actually started as a chemistry major. I was chemistry and chemical oceanography, and I really liked chemistry, so don't worry, that's not why I switched. But I actually really got into exercising. So I had always been physically active as a teenager and a kid. And then when I went to college, I got into actually going to the gym and stuff like that. And so kinesiology, this exercise science or the understanding of how the body physiologically adapts to the stresses of exercise was something I got really interested in. So I switched my major to that. So as someone who really hated biology, I then suddenly was taking Bio 101. But that was all good because it set the foundation for the physiology education, which is what I really liked. So then when I was finishing that degree, I had no idea what I wanted to do next. A lot of people that start in kinesiology want to go on to medical school, physical therapy school, things like that. And I really wasn't interested in that. So I actually had a meeting with my advisor, and she suggested that I consider research, consider getting a graduate degree. So that was how I kind of went into a doctoral program where I thought, I really like this. I was doing some research as an undergrad. I was not terribly involved in a lab, but I was a little bit getting some experience. I really liked it. So it was just that idea of continuing to pursue more experience in the lab and more education that kept me going. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. I really loved it. I kept going. at every juncture, every graduation, I think, am I still doing this? And then I have to recommit. Now I'm here doing it, so we're doing it.
Well, it definitely sounds like you have kind of a lifelong passion to working towards where you're at. So, I mean, what if you had to narrow that down, though? Like, what really gets you excited about your research and kind of helps you keep making that decision to keep coming back to it?
Yeah, so I really love working with human subjects. So I in hindsight, I think I actually would have liked being a medical doctor, a physician, but at the time I didn't think that interested me. So I really love, we have the participants come into the lab. We spend a pretty significant portion of time with them while they're in the lab, and we get to learn a little bit about them. And I really love working with them and understanding what the underlying causes of their medical conditions might be, so that we can really work toward solutions to either treat or prevent any sort of cardiovascular disease or dysfunction that might be underlying. So I really love that we're helping people in a way different from physicians, but in a way that we're pushing the science forward really with a patient focused. We want to improve healthy lifespan for these people.
Nice. So I know that when I started, kind of pulling from my own experience, and kind of it's probably a little bit like yours, where I wasn't heavily involved in research as an undergrad, and got obviously more so in graduate school, that I realized that there's quite a few things that surprised me about what research entailed. So, I mean, from your own experience, what was you kind of as you were getting into research, going through your PhD, or I guess postdoc or beyond, what is maybe something that stands out as surprising to you about your research, I guess, in your field or in general?
Well, I'm always constantly surprised by how hard it is. So, right, I mean, research and science and discovery is just about making mistakes all the time, and everything, it's really hard to remember that everything you're doing, you're really proposing to be the first person to ever do it. So you have to figure every single thing out. So I think that's one thing in general just about research, that I just have to constantly remember, like, this is really hard. You are doing a hard thing, and so it's normal to struggle. But it's also really rewarding, and it's always surprising when you do talk to people about what they do, just to see how passionate someone can get about one little molecule that binds to one little receptor and all of that.
So, again, kind of taking something you said there, that science is kind of like the constant, a little bit of failures and kind of learning to adapt and kind of push past that. So, what is something that stands out to you as a time which you encountered a challenge, a setback, kind of in research or professional career, and how did you persevere and push past that? How did you handle that?
Yeah, so I have a really good story for that.
Okay.
So I started, I came right from undergraduate, and even though I wasn't heavily involved in research as an undergrad, I was a very good student. And I went to graduate school, and I was really excited to do more college. And graduate school is very different, right? There are just so many new challenges and new pulls on your time. And so I came directly into a doctoral degree, and I really was out of my depth. I really struggled in that first year. I think on paper I looked like I was doing okay, but I had some really major challenges. I struggled in some classes. I really wasn't sure that I was capable of doing what was expected. And I actually quit grad school. So I mentioned I got a master's and a PhD. That's because I quit grad school. And I went to my mentor, and I said, I quit. I don't think I'm cut out for this. I don't think I'm capable. And he was really wonderful in saying, like, that's okay. And how about you just do a master's degree? That'll give you another year to figure out where you want to go. I think his quote was, if you're not running towards something, why not? Or why would you run away from this? You're here, you've done half the work, you can finish the master's. So for me, then I did. So I said, okay, I'm just going to do a master's. It gave me kind of a shorter time frame, a more achievable goal. And then in my second year of graduate school, so as I was working toward completing that degree, I did kind of relax find my stride, and really start to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
So then, as I was completing my master's, that same mentor said to me, I noticed you're really enjoying this. You're excelling now. Would you consider staying and completing a doctoral degree? And so that's how I did end up doing the PhD.
Yeah.
So I mentioned recommitting. I think for me it's good to have the shorter goals, and I can say, okay, in a year I can quit if I need to, or okay, I'm only a year in, so if I quit now, I haven't lost too much. Yeah. So it was a real struggle for me then, and it was good for me to say I quit, to take control of the situation. But it also was really wonderful that I had a mentor who was accepting of that and let me kind of like come into my own and overcome the I don't want to say overcome the imposter syndrome, because no one ever overcomes that, but overcome that feeling that I just couldn't do it in my own time.
That is a really good story. Yeah.
I love to tell students that I quit my graduate program at least once and considered it many other times, and the struggle is really, really normal.
Yeah, I can relate to the idea of that, considering quitting as well. I think that's a fairly common thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, coming from at least somewhat of a chemistry background, maybe, and in the field you are, I feel like hopefully it's somewhat straightforward. But I guess how do you see chemistry influence or have an impact on your current work, and what ways can you relate to that? Some of the things you have seen at some point in time and using that now.
Yeah. So in my work, we use a lot of pharmacology. So we use different drugs that either activate or inhibit receptors at the level of the blood vessel to elicit or inhibit responses that we're really interested in studying. So we use a lot of chemistry and like biochemistry principles when we're mixing the pharmacology, preparing the drugs that we're going to deliver, and then we use some of those principles as well when we're trying to understand our data. So chemistry and life sciences really, I mean, they go hand in hand. They are all life sciences, right? And so we do use a lot of those principles. I'm doing molar calculations all the time. So are my students, and so yeah, pretty much every day I have some of those, at least Gen Chem principles.
Yeah, we just did some molar calculations this morning. It was
creating and diluting molar solutions. That's my everyday.
Yep. So I think you've had an interesting journey to where you are now, and I think if you had to look back and had one piece of advice that you could give someone or to yourself, in the early stages of your collegiate career or academic career, if you had to look back and say, what advice would you give yourself or someone in that position? What advice do you think you'd give?
Yeah, so I'm a hypocrite for saying this because I should say it to myself today, but I think really just relax and let it come, right? So there's always going to be a learning curve at any point in academia. There's a learning curve when you start your undergraduate degree. There's a learning curve when you step up to that next level of your senior electives. And I think just at every step along the way, I struggle to remember that if I just relax and take it piece by piece, that it will come. So I think earlier me really would have benefited to hear from that, but me today would benefit to hear from that too.
I think I could take some of that home with me as well. Yeah. Well, I think that it kind of wraps around the questions we have for today. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Thank you for listening along to Chats with a Scientist. Hopefully you found something interesting in today's conversation. I want to thank Dr. Anna Stanhewicz again for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode.